Welcome into the New Orleans Saints podcast, presented by SeatGeek. You'll hear from players, coaches, broadcasters, and writers that cover the NFL on a daily basis. The New Orleans Saints podcast starts right now. Here's your host, Erin Summers.
First week of OTAs took place this week, Tuesday through Thursday. As was with the offseason programming so far, the players have seemed really energized by the work. Head coach Kelvin Moore said that it's all been by design.
Yeah, I think we're really conscious of being really efficient and the workloads that go into this. And so Ted Rath is one of the best in the business. I truly think he's the best from a sports performance standpoint. And so certainly he's a guy that I'll lean on with connection to the training staff. And so we've had longer days. And so this day was kind of a fast day. This is our third day in a row. And so we're really conscious of being really efficient with these guys on and off the field, get them to still go for it. We limited some of the space, and so it allows our guys to recover in a really good way that, coming off of this 4-day weekend, we'll be able to attack it again.
A lot of focus during this teaching period is on the quarterback room. Moore announced Thursday that second-year quarterback Jake Haener suffered an injury and will be limited going forward.
Just kind of one of those things that happens. Obviously, I do everything I can to make sure those things don't happen, but this first time I've ever had a soft tissue deal, pop up. So just trying to monitor it. It's not going to be something that keeps me out for camp or anything like that. Unfortunately, be down, for OTAs, which obviously is, sucks. But, I'm not going to sit here and feel sorry for myself. Get better, do the rehab, go through the process, and, be ready to go for camp.
What can you do to stay ready and stay in it and be a part of the quarterback room without being able to be on the field?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, new offense, new system, new terminology is be here early, get my treatment done, don't miss meetings, and then, just take the mental reps when I can, when I'm on the field and watching, and just be around for the guys.
What stood out to you so far about Kelvin Moore's offense?
It's very similar to what I ran in college, which is a good thing, and that's a positive note that I'm taking. Kirby, his brother, ran the same thing. Very similar concepts, a little different terminology, but protections are, very similar concepts, very similar. So it's all the stuff that's helped get me here. So I feel confident with it, and, I'll be, excited to run it for training camp.
Haener had taken some first-team reps prior to his injury, as did rookie Tyler Shuck and second-year quarterback Spencer Rattler. It will be Rattler and Shuck going forward who split those first-team reps until Haener is healthy. After practice on Thursday, Shuck spoke about getting comfortable with the players around him and his progress so far.
Good. It's been really good. Just getting to know everybody. Getting chemistry with the guys. I think it's been the biggest thing is you got new faces. Obviously, you're building the new installs every single day, so been feeling really good about that. Starting to just kind of connect with the guys even more.
And you're rotating in and out with Spencer right now, with the ones, Haener before, but how has that been trying to get acclimated to different groups of guys?
It's been good. It's part of it. You got to go in there and operate. You got a taste of that in minicamp. You got brand new faces. The expectations, you got to go out there and perform, and I love it. And I think you just see the level of play here with Olave and Sheed and the kind of veteranness that we have at O-line. It's really, really cool to come in and operate. I feel a lot more prepared, being kind of an older rookie coming in, not being as nervous to develop those relationships, but knowing that's my whole job is to continue to earn my role and do everything I can.
While we are intrigued with the quarterback room, we also want to know what this Kelvin Moore offense is going to look like. All three quarterbacks gave some insight into the Kelvin Moore scheme and how quarterback-friendly it is.
Yeah, I think it's very QB-friendly in the sense where he's going to get his quarterback completions early. I think in the RPO scheme, the RPR scheme, being able to get early completions, to the skilled players early is a part of his game. If you go and you turn the tape on, there's a lot of easy completions to get into a rhythm right off the bat. And then I think they do a good job of, talking to their passers, understanding when to take the shots, when they present themselves, and really understanding the why behind it. But then, look, it's a pure progression system, just like a lot of the systems now in the NFL. But like I said, I think the one thing that differentiates this system is there's the bubbles, there's the RPOs, the quick throws. Some of those things you don't really, take into account. But as a passer, it feels really good to get into a rhythm early to be able to get some of those explosive plays by not having to throw it 30, 40 yards down the field. So I think those are the things that, can help separate it and incorporate, be another extension of the run game.
I would say there's going to be answers for almost everything that you're going to see. Whether they're finding different ways to scheme up runs or get into different passes or take loads off of certain people, the quarterback, the O-line. I think he does a really good job of complementing each position and allowing everybody to go out there and play fast while still giving you a toolbox. And that's, I think, where I've had the most success in my career is having that toolbox, but ultimately letting your talent go shine.
I feel great. I think we play fast, play with tempo, RPOs. QB's going to be able to use his legs like you've seen what he's done with QBs in the past. I don't want to give away too much, but it's been great, man. I think the receivers, the tight ends, the running backs, everybody's gelling well with this offense and O-line as well. I mean, like I said, it feels smooth, feels good out there right now. Obviously, got to install more, but we're pretty deep into the playbook and it feels good.
Moore has stated since he became the head coach how important line play is. He's reiterated that constantly, saying you got to build from the inside out. Said it again on Thursday. Taking a look at that line and how it's been configured so far, we have seen first-round pick Kelvin Banks Jr. moving from both sides, right tackle, left tackle, and in. Spent a lot of time at left tackle this week while Taliese Fuaga was at right. Trevor Penning has been working in at left guard. Moore said Penning absolutely has the skill set to play guard, and the goal is to build continuity on the line throughout the offseason.
I think one thing with the offensive line is that group has to be really, really interconnected. And so much of it is verbal, but so much of it's nonverbal. Those guys are in combinations and working together more than probably any other group in this entire game. The right tackle and the right guard spend so many times in combination blocks, and they have to be perfectly aligned and hit it at the same time and have these, verbal communication, but at times there's nonverbal communication. And so the more time these guys spend time together, gelling, communicating, being on the same page is a huge, huge advantage for any offense in this league.
I sat down with offensive line coach Brendan Nugent to dive further into how the OL is progressing, goals for the offseason, and Nugent's return to New Orleans. Coach, thanks for joining me on the New Orleans Saints podcast. It's second time around for you. Looking around the building, the people here, what's different?
Cafeteria. That's different. That's probably the biggest change. But a lot of stuff is the same. Obviously it's a first-class facility, so it's nice to know what you're kind of walking into and, knowing a lot of the people, familiar faces, how things operate, that always helps.
For you, what do you bring that's different this time? I mean, you've had some years away, gone a couple different places.
Sure. That's, it's what I tell the players all the time too. Like, I'm always learning as a coach too. So, I've been gone 3 years, experienced some different situations, different organizations, been around different coaches, picked up a few different things, from technique standpoint, drill standpoint, even from a scheme standpoint about how we're coaching stuff. So always evolving, always trying to stay ahead, chasing the edges always and, stay ahead of the game. And so probably there's a few things, a few of the guys who were with me before have noticed, they've said, oh, we didn't do that before. It's like, yeah, just something we've learned over the time. So it's been good.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to Cesar Ruiz at the Golf Classic on Monday, and he brought up having played with you before, and he's like, oh, that's my guy. And so you have familiarity with a lot of the guys on the line, but how have you seen some of them, like Ruiz and McCoy, grow?
Well, it's been awesome to watch from afar. I had those two guys when they were young, Cesar just in his rookie year, Eric for a couple years. But from afar, you see him in film study throughout the league and just watching those guys get better and better each year, each game, it was exciting for me to come back. And it was like, man, and still feel like there was more to get out of them. Right. And that's kind of like the greatest thing we do is we can get these guys just a little bit better and playing a little bit better. And that's, especially when they're playing well to begin with. So that was exciting for me coming back, having the familiarity, knowing how they had progressed, and can't wait to help them progress even more.
Why did you want to come back here?
A couple reasons. One, we love this area. We were here. My younger two kids were born here. We spent 7 years here, fell in love with the place. And then probably more importantly, it's the organization I know. It's a great organization. It's people I know. And then I believe in Kellen. I got the opportunity to work with him for the year. I believe in how he views it, how he goes about it, what he's about. And so that was a big, big factor in saying, hey, yes, let's come on back. Let's do this thing with Kellen and an organization and a place that we know and love. So
Coach Moore said that, and he said this many times before the draft, that you build it from the inside out. He's really big on the line. Does it put any pressure on you? How do you approach that?
Well, I'll take it. I'll take any first-round pick you want to give me, I'll take, right? I don't view it as pressure, right? Like everybody's got to put 5 guys out there, and, we talk about it as an organization here, right? It doesn't really matter how you were acquired, what round, free agency, whatever, right? We're going to find the 5 best guys. So building it from the inside out. I love that because that is how the game is won. But I don't feel any pressure with it. I just feel like, because we need to, if you can't do it up front, then nothing else on the outside matters. So we need to be able to handle things up front, and I'm all for it.
You have a couple first-round picks now on that line, most recently with Kelvin Banks. He's moved a couple different positions. What have you seen from him that you've liked so far?
It's everything we kind of learned about him in the pre-draft process, kind of as an organization. It's kind of as advertised, right? He's smart. He's got great character. He's tough. He understands football, understands the big picture, right? And then he's a really good athlete and a really good football player who still has potential to get even better, and he works at it, right? He's not afraid to try stuff, not afraid to keep working and grinding through it. So it's been good, and that's the fun part for us, is trying to find the best combination of those five, that's going to give us the best chance to win.
Last year we saw Taliese Fuaga flip sides, and he did very well. Trevor Penny's moved around a little bit. At what point do you need to feel comfortable with where people are?
I would say sooner than later. We're still in May right now, so we kind of have a little bit of flexibility to kind of try some different combinations and move guys. But I think, ultimately just having done this for a lot of years now, the sooner we can get those five guys, and especially the guards and the tackles, working next to each other, because they develop that rapport and that relationship. So it'll happen sooner than later, but we still have some flexibility with just where we are in the offseason right now to work with some of those things.
With the quarterback room and that being up in the air, not knowing who the starter is going to be, there's chemistry that has to be developed there with the line as well. What do you talk to your linemen about and how they can approach that so things are easier for whoever is back there?
Sure. It's at the end of the day, the quarterback's the general, right? Like we say, everything runs through the line, but he's the general out there. So, the way we go about it is, hey, man, we got to learn all of these guys. We have to learn their nuances, their cadences, right? And that's on us to figure it out, right? However that unfolds, we got to be ready to go with any of them. And so that's not, obviously them, like they'll work to all try and be similar with cadences and how they call plays, but everybody's different. But that's on us as a unit to be able to figure out all those guys and be ready to roll with however that shakes out in that room.
When you were here last as the offensive line coach, 131 sacks surrendered, first in the NFL, and tied for the most rushing touchdowns. So the line was really working then. How do we get back to that?
Just hard work. It's a combination of, look, it's at some point change is inevitable in this business. You can just look at my career over the past 4 years and see that. But it's, again, you just come in, and Kellen said it, it's a blank slate. Everybody's got a blank slate. And so now we just slowly build this thing up, right, from the ground floor. And then we just get back to playing Saints football like we know it is and that we have the talent to do it. Now we just got to make sure we put it all together. And it's just, it's an old cliche, but it's just one day at a time and just hard work and keep getting better and better and better. And then all of a sudden things just start going, and then they click, and now we're rolling and running.
All right, so you were a linebacker. How did you end up coaching the line?
So about 22 years ago now, I think. My math might be off. I had coached high school ball for 1 year back in my high school. I coached linebackers and quarterbacks. And then I got a job offer at the University of Iowa. And it was kind of working with the offense, but a lot with the O-line. And so I kind of learned a little bit there. And then throughout the course of the years I was in college, I coached pretty much every position on offense except quarterbacks exclusively. And then when I got to the NFL 13, 14 years ago, whatever it was, the job was with the O-line, and I've been there ever since. So I kind of got a background in it, my first college job, and then kind of always kept learning, always intrigued by it, and, worked with tackles and tight ends in different spots. And then, just since I've been in the NFL, I've kind of learned from the ground floor up in the O-line room, and I'm passionate about it. So I love doing it. I love being in that room with those guys.
How much does it help having somebody like Jaria Evans then, who did play the position at an extremely high level, right there alongside you?
Oh, it's great. Like I've said this before to other people, like I've learned more about this position from players than I have truly from other coaches who have coached it, right? And it's like I said earlier, like I'm always learning. I'm an open book. I want to know, hey, Jari, how'd you do this? So having somebody like that who's about to be a Hall of Fame player, right? About to be in the Hall of Fame as a guard, like that is just to rely on that and have that in the room and say, how do you see it from a player's perspective? Josh, how did you do this, right? It's invaluable.
This is the first stage of OTAs. What's the next few weeks look like as we progress towards mandatory minicamp, as far as what you would like to see from the line?
Sure. It's the way we're kind of structured here, it's a lot of emphasis on individual drills for us as an O-line, not a lot of team, more of a walkthrough tempo team setting at the end, which for us is great because we can really boil it down to like the nuts and bolts. Like we can start slow and truly progress through the fundamentals and not have to dive crazily into scheme early. So we can really make sure our fundamentals are on point. So over the next couple of weeks, even leading into mandatory minicamp, we'll just keep building, slowly on those fundamentals, make sure we got them right before we go on to the next one. And then as we intertwine the scheme with it, it all kind of makes sense. So it's just all building towards training camp.
And then when we get the pads on?
When we get the pads on, we're rolling. Hopefully we've created enough of a base here in the offseason fundamentally, right? We won't abandon them in training camp. We'll still work them, but it'll be more of an emphasis on, all right, let's make sure our fundamentals are on point and then dive into the scheme and how we're doing stuff and the specific techniques and stuff like that.
With Eric McCoy and the way that he's just anchored this line for so long, his knowledge of the game, how valuable is he with the youth that you still do have there?
No, it's great. Eric is a vital piece for that, right? He's unquestionably the leader in that room. He was thrust into the starting position his rookie year, so he's seen a lot of football from a lot of different perspectives. So he understands the game and he communicates outstanding, and he can make sure everybody's on the same page at all times, right? And that's invaluable, especially right when you have a young group, like you said, where he can just get everybody on the same page, and it's just a calming presence, especially when he's out there.
Well, we're looking forward to the rest of the OTAs and to see how this line shapes up. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Establishing that chemistry with the line and quarterback will be important. The chemistry between the quarterback and the wide receivers will also be key. And the best play that I saw during the open portion of OTAs on Thursdays was from rookie Tyler Shough. He pump faked it, threw it down the right sideline to Rashid Shaheed about 50 yards. Rashid is fast. Shough got the timing right, and the connection was perfect.
Yeah, we just had a little double move on. We're building through the installs, so naturally, shorter base plays right in the beginning. We'll start kind of getting into more exotic ones, but yeah, it's been good to develop that chemistry with the guys like Sheed, and you saw him go out there and go make the play, so he's got some big playability.
I think our receiver room's got excellent people, excellent talented players. They all work their tail off, and I think they're really, really good communicators. And so, CO, Sheed, even the guys who've been, Cooksey's been in this league for a long time. Dante's been in this league. There's a bunch of guys, I can go on and on. It's a really good group, and I think that quarterback room, that receiver room spend a lot of time together, which is ultimately what you want.
Lots of good work to build off of already as the Saints put the first set of OTAs behind them, those 3 practices. They'll have those 4 days off this weekend for the holiday weekend to rest, recover, spend some time with some family, give tribute to the Memorial holiday. And we'll be back next week with another open date on Thursday, where we'll have another Saints podcast to break down everything that happened, what's being said, and what's being worked on. Thanks so much for joining me on this edition of the New Orleans Saints podcast.
Thanks for listening to the New Orleans Saints podcast, presented by SeatGeek. Join us 3 times per week on NewOrleansSaints.com, the Saints mobile app, or you can download the podcast on iTunes. We'll see you next time, right here on the New Orleans Saints podcast, presented by SeatGeek.